Good morning to Dr. Lee. Today I'm going to talk about the introduction about the cultural imperialism theory. And my name is Jacqueline and daughter of Amal Raj, and my metric number is BA2411030386. So let's start with the introduction part. So cultural imperialism is the idea that powerful nations, especially those with strong media industries like the United States, spread their culture, especially culture, values, and ideologies to weaker nations and making the local population view uh, the foreign culture as superior. They stated that the foreign culture is the superior culture according to them. And according to some philosopher like Amilcar Cabral in 1976, he stated that cultural imperialism happens when a foreign culture becomes so dominant that people start abandoning and adopt their own traditions, start abandoning their own traditions and culture. Like philosophers like Best and Comball on 2009 describe it as a process that modernizes weaker societies by replacing their traditions with ideas from ideas from stronger nations. This theory became prominent or famous during the Cold War when the United States and the USSR tried to influence other nations by promoting their economic and political systems through media. For instance, the US used its commercial media to spread American culture globally and imposing it on smaller nations. And scholars like Neo Cosmos on 2017 argued that this culture domination began during the colonial era and continued with imperialistic strategies, especially by the United States and the Soviet Union. However, critics say or state the idea oversimplifies things as local cultures and political factors also shape how media and foreign ideas are adopted. And philosopher Aminu in 1994 explained that humans or people naturally imitate others, so weaker cultures often adopt the habits, language, or values of stronger ones. It also similar to philosopher Makba on 2001 noted that when two cultures interact or combine, they influence each other, sometimes consciously or unconsciously, leading to changes in traditions, education, and social values. While cultural imperialism highlights the unequal power dynamics between nations, the process is complex and influenced by many factors beyond just media dominance. So the cultural imperialism is the theory that powerful countries, especially through media like movies, TV, and music, spread their culture and values to weaker nations, often overshadowing or replacing local traditions. This has raised or increased concerns about the loss of cultural diversity, with critics arguing that it leads to the erosion of local identities. Philosopher like Edward Said's concept of Orientalism highlights how Western cultures have portrayed other as interior or superior to justify dominance, a dynamic present in cultural imperialism. In places like Nigeria, Western culture has influenced changes in religion, gender roles, and social norms such as women's such as women increased participation in the workforce and shifts in family structures. So the media wants a tool for cultural development in Nigeria now largely mirrors or enhance Western models, often neglecting local cultural realities and needs, um, or prompting calls for media to better reflect for indigenous traditions.
2.0 Background of the theory Cultural Imperialism, which is cultural imperialism theory examines how dominant cultures, often from powerful Western nations, impose their values, norms, and media products on less dominant cultures globally. Its roots and implications span history and fields like media, academia, and politics. The first point is emergence of the theory, which is popularized in 1970s. Edward Said developed it in Orientalism 1979 and Culture and Imperialism 1993, about exploring how the West distorted the image of the Middle East to justify the imperialism.
My name is Muhammad Fakrul Hisham bin Burhan. Matrix number 24110139. I want to talk about linguistic imperialism. First, definition and origins, coined by Robert Philipson in Linguistic Imperialism 1992, describe the dominance one of language over other perpetually unequal power dynamic, rooted in historical colonialism and contemporary neo-colonial practice. Next, impact of English. English global dominance in education, business, and media margins other language and culture. Create hierarchical language system, reinforcing socio-economic. Next, education. Scholars like Skunep Kangas highlight how language policy neglect minority language affect educational equality and cultural identity. Number 4, media and culture. David Crystal and Manuel Castells discuss the dominance of major language in global media and digital communication, shaping cultural production and reinforcing. Next, economic implication. Nancy Hornberger and Bernard Splosky explore how language proficiency influence economic opportunity, career advancement, and social mobility. Linguistic capital play a role in economic stratification. Next, cultural identity and diversity. Scholars like Pierre Bourdieu and Homike Bahba examine the interplay between language, cultural identity, and power. Bourdieu language as social power influencing hierarchy. Bahba hybridality as a lens to study linguistic and cultural exchange. Next, contemporary relevance. Linguistic imperialism is both a tool of dominance and site of resistance. Ongoing globalization necessitates further research and address challenge and promote equitable global communication. About cultural imperialism and popular culture, unveiling the influence of Salama Ismail is at Saloma in the Federation of Malaya. First definition and the background. Theoretical background. Cultural imperialism. Dominance. One of cultural or over other influencing practice and expression in colonized regions. Edward Said, 1978, in Orientalism, highlight the imposition of Western ideologies and norms, reinforcing power imbalance. Homi Bahba, 2012, introduced hybridity, showing how cultural identity evolved through colonized interaction led to hybrid expression that challenge dominant cultural narrative. Gayatri Chakravorty Spivak, 1999, examined how the subterranean marginalized group are excluded from dominant discourse, limiting their agency and voice. Next, cultural imperialism and popular culture. Scholars like John Tomlinson, 2001, and Arjun Apuradai, 1990, discuss how Western media and entertainment homogenize cultural practice, often overshadowing local tradition. A gap exists in the literature regarding how artists in colonized region interact with and navigate culture. Next, artists and active participant. Exiting studies often priority colonized artists specific recipient of cultural imperialism. There is a need to recognize their agency and contribution in shaping popular culture and negotiating dominant cultural norms. The fourth case study, Salma Ismail atau Ed Saloma. Saloma, a celebrated artist from Federation of Malaya, achieved international acclaim through music, fashion, and performance. Her work reflects how artists from colonized regions navigate cultural imperialism, blend local tradition with external influence. Limited research exists on Saloma's strategy in negotiating and possibly subverting cultural imperialism through her creative expression. Number 5. Research gap and goals. Lack of comprehensive study on the role of artists in colonized region and the context cultural imperialism. And next, the impact of cultural imperialism on the Hausa culture. First, colonial context in Africa. Colonization of Africa, rooted in Berlin Conference 1884 to 1885, which formalized European division of Africa, excluding Ethiopia and Liberia. Industrial revolution played a significant role in driving colonization, replacing slave-based economic with the need for raw material and capital investment. Second, linguistic imperialism, described by Bunza, 2018, as the harshest colonial policy in history, deeply impacting culture, undermining traditional practice and norms, religion, disrupting indigenous belief and practice, education, favoring colonial language over narrative one, indigenous language like Hausa suffer greatly under colonial language policy, leading to fear of language extinction. Third, Hausa resistance to colonial policy. Hausa cultural and literary tradition strongly oppose colonial language policy. British effort to impose English in colonial court and places faced significant resistance and unlimitedly failed. Western education Boko was perceived as a tool of cultural and linguistic imperialism aimed at promoting English as the dominant language. Last but not least, consequences of colonial policies, damage to indigenous African language, spread the linguistic extinction across colonies, resistance movement highlighted by resilience of Hausa cultural identity in the face of imperialist efforts. Cultural imperialism through social media influence and western dressing through Facebook and urban areas of Pakistan. Cultural transformation through social media as the result of migration and instantaneous connectedness. Social media is promoting intellectual contract, altering cultural value globally and blending culture. Facebook effect on cultural identity. Facebook encourages users to develop their identity and become closer. It draws attention to cultural disparities such as Middle East politician emphasis and United States social emphasis. Number 3, cultural difference in Facebook usage. Western Facebook user priorities modernity and social issue establishing trend worldwide, whilst Middle Eastern use are more than conversation and traditional. The dominance of Western culture through social media is demonstrated by the promotion of Western good and cultural icon inside like Facebook, which appeal to developing nations because they are appealing and modern.
So, in the article Universal Human Rights as Cultural Imperialism by Jared Berger, stated or argues that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is called as UDHR, created after World War II by mostly Western countries, reflects Western values and imposes or show them on other cultures. Critics like Sagaya Piria on 2018 point out that the UDHR focuses on individual rights, which is human rights, which don't align with the communal values of many non-Western cultures, and it ignores colonialism as a violation of human rights. Other scholars or philosophers such as Muchua in 2016 and Gunn 2020 in 2020 that argued that the UDHR is based on Western ideas that doesn't include the perspectives of colonized nations. They also say or stated that rights like personal property are specific to Western history. Some scholars like Dawzinus in 2005 warned that human rights can be used by powerful countries such as United States of America to push their own agendas. Philosopher like Zizek suggests that a better approach will recognize the importance of community and collective values, not just individualism. So the article suggests that the UDHR reflects Western dominance and other cultures, calling for a more inclusive approach to human rights that respect cultural differences.
So now I want to present my review article for communication theory assignment grouping. I have 3 article review that I want to present right now. My first result review article title is Islamic animation industry Dakwa case study of Upin and Upin series film at MNC TV Globalization Perspective. This article, written by Amiro Nichayatun, Munis Aziz, and Rifki Mustafa. The purpose of this article is to understand how Dawa in Upin and Ipin series film on MNCTV television station globalization perspective and to know what extent Upin and Ipin animated film homogenizes Indonesian culture. This is because the author believed that communication media, such as television, was the most interesting to spread a culture at the globalization. The author used two theories for data collection of this article. The first one is the author used a case study type of research and used the theory of guilt, Branston and Roy Startford. Author used this theory because authors wants to discuss various perspectives and approaches such as the approach of cultural imperialism, homogenization, and oligopoly. The result of the author's research found that the dawa of morality, the dawa conveyed by the film Upin and Ipin, is an aspect of morality, belief, and sharia. Finally, the author also says that the imperialism culture that influenced Indonesian children in the Upin and Ipin series film is the language, behavior, and accessories used in the series film. Secondly, the result of my review article title is Representation of Cultural Imperialism in the BTS music video Dynamite, Semiotic Study of Roland Barthes. This article is written by Ratu Nadia Wahyuning Ratna and Ratu Laura MB Itu. The purpose of this article is to discuss the representation of cultural hybridity in Dynamite's music video. The author used two theories for data collection of this article. Firstly, use Roland Barthes semiotic studies, and the author also used secondary data from his research, which is in the form of 4 scenes found in the BTS Dynamite music video. The result of the author's research found that the BTS Dynamite music video contains elements of British, American, and South Korean culture. Therefore, the author of this article described the extenses of Western culture imperialism has turned into Korean cultural imperialism. Finally, the author also states that this dynamic music video also depicts a cultural hybrid where the enthusiasm of the people, especially in Asia, towards BTS is high because of its high value, worldly experience, history, and culture of South Korea itself. Lastly, the result of my review article title is analysis of the reception of cultural imperialism in Korean film series. This article written by Aditya Dewi Rachman and Aditya Dewi Putra Bhakti. The purpose of this article is to identify and describe the reception of Korean cultural imperialism through traditional games in the film series Squid Game. The author used four theories for data collection of this article. Firstly, the author used qualitative descriptive approach and focus group discussion FGD. Secondly, the author researched six informants from followers of the Twitter account alias K-drama manifest who were selected purposefully by limiting the informats who came from Japanese culture only. Thirdly, the author used secondary data from his research, which is in the form of six traditional games seen in the Squid Game series. Lastly, the author also used Stuart Hall's theory. So, the result of the author's research found that the attitude of the audience in accepting Korean culture is influenced by the activities of Korean media users, liking new things from Korea, and the social environment in Korea. Finally, the author suggests that further research obtain data from other cultures to obtain a more comprehensive perception of Korea cultural imperialism.
3.9 Impact of Cultural Imperialism on Advertising and Marketing by Anuradha Bhattacharjee in Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla, at India. Cultural imperialism is a concept that refers to the dominance of one culture over another, often through the spread of media, technology, and consumer goods in the context of advertising and marketing. It highlights the influence of powerful cultures, typically Western, on others, often overshadowing or erasing local traditions and values. The first point is advertising and marketing influence, which is Western culture shape global advertising strategies, often promoting Western ideals of beauty, luxury, and sophistications. For example, brands like Lancome, Kylarge, and BMW retain their Western identity in ads while making minimal local adjustments. and those brands also maintain their original French slogans and visuals in countries like India. The second point is language use in marketing. Most dominance of English and hybrid language like Franglish, Denglish, Hinglish in advertising reinforce cultural imperialism. For example, Swiss watchmakers use English slogans and Indian companies adopt French or German terms to appeal to global markets. The third point is Western cultural domination, that this practice equates Western products with wealthy and quality, marginalizing local cultures. For example, luxury products like perfumes, high-end fashions, and cars are marketed globally with Western values. The fourth is cultural exchange with a two-way influence, like non-Western cultures also influence in West cultures. Like the BRIC markets refers to the economies of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, which were grouped together as emerging markets with significant growth potential. For example, like chicken tikka masala is popular in England, but the originate is in India. The second example is tea. Tea, which is a symbol of British culture now, but the originates is from China and India. The five is resistance to cultural imperialism. Some countries resist, like France Tobin law, which is the limiting the use of English in advertising, so that the local markets adapts adds to their cultural sensitivities. This through the Western influence remains dominant. The conclusion is cultural imperialism highlights how globalization spreads Western values, products, and language, often at the expense of local traditions. Although cultural exchange exists, Western culture largely dominates global commerce and advertising. 3.10, which is Cultural Imperialism, a discourse by Gottschalk, Odi Perry, Harold, and Obokwadata Henrik Presley. In this article, have explored the concept of cultural imperialism and its impact on societies around the world. One of the strengths of these articles is the author's ability to deconstruct the term cultural imperialism and question its validity. He argues that the term is often used to justify the dominance of Western cultures over non-Western cultures, and that it ignores the agency and resistance of these cultures. The authors ready 1987 sees cultures the way of life of a people, a composite of historical and living traditions, belief, values, and practices reflected as much in pattern of childbirth, marriage, and death as in the music, dance, drama, clothing, public taste and values, and in the religious practices of a given social system. First point is tools of cultural imperialism is education, which is Western style education often ignores local values and tradition, reflecting foreign cultural dominance. Second is economy, dependence on multinational corporation, for example Shell, Chevron, and Coca-Cola brand allows foreign powers to influence local economic policies and governments. Third is media. Media, which is films, music, and other Western media, promote Western values and lifestyle, often at expenses of local cultural identities. Definition of cultural imperialism by Galton, 1979. Cultural imperialism is one of five of imperialism: economic, political, military, communication, and cultural, where dominant cultures influence and control weaker ones through various means. That is, imported media and consumer goods. Imported broadcast media may not always drive consumer behavior, but their influence can still spread Western culture values. Second is press freedom and westernization is closely linked to the westernization in areas like economics, education, and imports, making it potential drivers of cultural imperialism. The third is film as cultural tool. Films are described as audio-visual cultural, reflecting that the values, beliefs, and culture of the societies that produce them. This makes films a powerful medium of spreading Western culture's norms. For example, like Disney movies, which is The Lion King. Disney movies often portray Western ideas of family, love, and heroism. For instance, The Lion King is set in Africa but features Western storytelling, values, and American accents, sidelining authentic African cultural representation. The second example is the the Hollywood blockbuster like the Avenger movies emphasize Western values such as individualism, heroism, and democratic governance. The superheroes, often led by figures like Captain America, a direct symbol of the United States, represent Western leadership and morality as universal ideals. Moreover, cultural imperialism is often linked to economic and political imperialism, as it can be used as a tool for maintaining and expanding colonial power. For example, the spread of Western media and consumerism can lead to the dominance of Western corporations and the exploitation of resources in non-Western countries. 3.11 Cultural globalization and the dominance of the American film industry, cultural policies, national film industry, and transnational film. Diana Crane's article provides a exploration of how cultural globalization has bolstered the hegemony of American films in the global markets. She identifies three primary factors contributing to this dominance, which is cultural policies, the role of national film industries, and transnational film production. In Europe have enacted. The first is cultural policies and the promotion of American culture. Crane argues the U.S. cultural policies actively promote the dissemination of American culture through media and entertainment. Programs such as the Fulbright Exchange Initiative and institutions like the Hollywood Foreign Press Association play pivotal roles in exporting American values and cultural products. These efforts have helped entrench American films as a global standard of entertainment. Transnational film production and collaboration. The rise of transnational collaboration further strengthened the global reach of Hollywood. By partnering with foreign markets, particularly in Asia, the American film industry has expanded its influence. These collaborations result in films with broader cultural appeal, ensuring that Hollywood remains a key player in the global film landscape. Crane also discussed how transnational film production has affected the dominance of American films. According to her, the American films industry has been able to expand its reach through partnership and collaboration with other countries, particularly in Asia. This has led to the production of films with global appeal, further solidifying the dominance of American films in the global market. The conclusion is Crane's analysis highlights the complex interplay between cultural globalization, national cultural policies, and transnational collaboration in shaping the global film market. It sheds light on how American films have maintained their dominance, offering valuable insight for those studying cultural exchange and globalization. Ultimately, the article underscores the challenges faced by local film industry in maintaining cultural identity while navigating the globalized entertainment landscape.
So, my second explanation about the cultural imperialism theory, which I was took in the journal called An Indian Perspective by Shweta Venkat. So she explores how translation was used during colonial era or colonial times to impose Western values on Indian culture. And she also argues that translation was not just about language, but also about reshaping cultures to fit the colonial narratives, or like often making native traditions seem interior. So in post-colonial India, however, writers and translators began using translation to reclaim their cultural identity, resisting colonial influences and asserting indigenous voices. And Venkat also shows that translation uh, uh, can both reinforce cultural dominance and be a tool for cultural resistance. So it's a simple and a short explanations from me uh, based on this article. So this is my last explanation about the article Cultural Imperialism Through Education in Pakistan. So this is the last explanation for the literature review from me. So the article discusses how globalization spreads Western education to countries such as Pakistan, leading to the dominance of more significant of Western ideas and values. So this can also overshadow local cultures and create a dependency on foreign knowledge, especially. So this article calls for education reforms that include local knowledge, encourage critical thinking skills, and promote intellectual independence and reduce this cultural domination. So this is the simple and short explanation based on the particular literature. So that's all from me.
So hello guys. So I will talk about the cultural imperialism paradigm, implication for media and identity. So according to Muhammad Al-Qadasi, cultural imperialism occurs when Western media bring capitalist values that weaken local culture, especially in Arab countries. Al-Qadasi emphasized that although this theory is often criticized for leaving the audience as passive, it remains relevant in understanding how global media influence cultural identity. To address this challenge, accountancy proposed strengthening local media productions. Okay, now I will talk about the cultural imperialism and communications. So this topic explains how communication is a key tool in cultural imperialism. Large corporations such as Hollywood or global media companies often control the content disseminated to other countries through the concept of hegemony introduced by Antonio Gramsci. This dominance occurs subtly by obtaining social consent from the community. However, there is two-way dynamic where local cultures can also adapt and transform foreign content to reflect their own identity. Okay, next, I will talk about the media imperialism towards an international framework. So this slide is focused on how dominance of media from developed countries like the United States cause an imbalance in the global narrative. This dominance leads to cultural homogenization, where Western values replace local values. Where this theory has been criticized for assuming a passive audience, the reality is that audience often choose content that is relevant to their cultures. To overcome this problem, it is important to develop countries to strengthen their local media industries. So now we'll talk about the cultural tourism in the age of multinationals. So the multinational era has seen companies like Disney, Google, and Netflix dominate global contents, especially in developing countries. They not only deliver entertainment but also instill the ideology of capitalism and a consumerist lifestyle. This dominance has left developing countries dependent on foreign technology and contents. Despite efforts by local communities to counter this influence, most countries still face major challenge in maintaining their culture's uniqueness. These articles call for the strengthening of local media for to protect cultural identity from external pressure.
So now I will move present framework model about belief. Belief is referred to a structure or belief system that makes someone to think and understand about world. Belief must have a clear evidence so that can be trusted. For example, theory of Islamic animation industry, Dawa, case study of Upin and Ipin series film at MNCTV Globalization Perspective, which Upin and Ipin has influenced the way of thinking of society in Indonesian culture. In this article, it is stated that the aspect of moral belief and Sharia is the in the movie Upin and Ipin are preaching that is believed by the culture of Indonesian imperialism.
The variable 5.5 is media content. Based on the article Impact of Cultural Imperialism on Advertising and Marketing by Anuradha Bhattacharjee, Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla at India. It contains variable of media and promoting Western cultural norms. For example, like luxury brands, Lancome and BMW use advertisements that reflects Western values, often retaining a Western core message even when marketed in non-Western regions. The second example is in Oliver Boyd Barrett's article, Media Imperialism Towards an International Framework. Media is highlighted as a powerful tool of cultural imperialism. Media from powerful countries like the United States export entertainment, news, and cultural products that reflects their values and norms. The second example is in Oliver Boyd Barrett's article, Media Imperialism Towards an International Framework. Media is highlighted as a powerful tool of cultural imperialism. Media from powerful countries like the United States export entertainment, news, and cultural products that reflects their values and norms.
Next, conceptualize about the tradition, repetition, and regency. The sentence's globalization has capacity to revolve the media, but the effects have mostly been exploitative, appear twice in slightly different form. This repetition creates unnecessary redundancy and disrupt the flow. Suggested revision combine this idea into a single clear statement, clarity, agreement. The past strangely notwithstanding the media capacity. It's a quote and seem incomplete. Consider repressing of clarity. Suggested revision. Rewrite the segment to maintain logical coherence and fluency, consistency, and terminology. The passages alternate between global age and globalization without clearly linking the two, establishing consistent terminology and enhanced clarity. Balance of perspective. While the text focus on the negative impact of globalization and media, it briefly mentioned the potential to revolutionize the media without elaborating. A balanced perspective would include specific example of positive impact in, if any, cultural examples, specific example of individual Nigerian custom or tradition being undermined could strengthen the argument and provide concert contents.
Hello, so this part I will talk about the role of language in the context of culture and linguistic imperialism. As described by Friedson, he showed how the dominance of language, such as English, reinforces socioeconomic inequality and admits minority language. For example, in the education system, global language often replaces local language, as seen in the case of Hausa culture. Furthermore, proficiency in English is often considered a linguistic capital which opens up career opportunities, but at the same time uh, create a hierarchy of language. Sweta Venkat, in a study of translation, show how during the colonial era, local texts were translated to reflect the inferiority of local cultures. However, there have also been efforts to restore and preserve native language, which reflect resistance to linguistic imperialism. Technology and media play an important role in reinforcing this hierarchy of language, but they can also be used to promote linguistic diversity. Thank you.
So let's move on to the second part of the assessment, which is theoretical framework. So in the theoretical framework, I choose religions. So the review shows how religion plays a key role or an important, significant role in cultural imperialism, with dominant cultures imposing their beliefs or their beliefs on colonized, especially in colonized society. So in places like the Hausa colonies, the British pushed English and Christianity, but locals resisted um, to protect their own faiths and cultures. So they highlights the ongoing struggle to preserve culture and religious identities against outside pressures for them.